All right. Now call the City Council regular meeting to order for March 23rd. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation given by Councilwoman Brittany McGuire.
Pray with me. Thank you, Lord, for this evening. Thank you for each and every one of us that have come out tonight. Thank you for your wisdom and your guidance, Lord. Thank you for ministering truth to each and every one in this room, as well as those throughout our city. Thank you for keeping us safe and healthy as we went through our spring break. And Lord, thank you for all the many blessings that you've bestowed upon us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire.
Here.
Councilmember McCure.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Item number 5, we have the employee longevity. Ms. Koger.
Yes, the city would like to recognize 2 of our employees tonight. They're not able to be here at the meeting, but we have Keyshawn Ricketts, a C&D tech, has been with us for a year, and Jeremy Boggs, who is our new airport operations manager, who's also been with us for a year. So we thank them for their service.
We thank them very much. All right, up next we have a proclamation for the Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas Florida is committed to improving the lives of all Floridians and securing a better future for the citizens of this state, and whereas children who have adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, are at higher risk of short and long-term physical, psychological, and behavioral challenges that can impact the individual child and the greater community, and whereas parents and caregivers who have resources and support are better equipped to give their children safe and nurturing experiences, and whereas children have better mental health, physical health, and academic success when they are raised in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. And whereas the Florida Department of Children and Families Secretary has a vision for holistic services by integrating systems and services. And whereas the state of Florida has established Hope Florida, a path to prosperity, a personalized approach to helping families overcome barriers to self-sufficiency through community collaboration. And whereas Floridians can call 850-300-HOPE to speak with a care navigator for support to develop a plan and achieve economic self-sufficiency, referrals to local partners, and help identifying goals and barriers in their lives. And whereas during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Adoption and Child Protection, the Florida Department of Children and Families, the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida, implements Pinwheels for Prevention, a statewide coordinated campaign to raise awareness of child abuse prevention efforts by teaching about healthy child development and positive parenting practices and establishing Circle of Parents peer support groups. And whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month provides everyone with a chance to learn how they can play a role in preventing abuse and neglect, including adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. And whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month reminds Floridians of all ages that they can help children increase positive childhood experiences, which leads to happier, healthier childhoods. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City of Avon Park, Florida, hereby extends its support to all observing April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Florida. All right, that was a mouthful. Yes, sir.
No, I'm here to represent the Children's Advocacy Center regarding that proclamation.
Perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that proclamation or state?
No, just thank the City of Avon Park for being a part of it, along with Highlands County, for supporting the Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Thank you very much. We have the proclamation here if you'd like it. All right. Up next, we have the consent agenda. This will be items 7 through 9. Does anyone wish to remove any of these items? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve C 7 through 9.
We have a motion. We have a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Item number 10, we have Resolution 2026-11, FDEP consent order.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Avon Park, Florida, authorizing the mayor to execute a consent order with the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection, OGC file case number 25-1899, regarding the municipal separate storm sewer facility, MS4, providing for administrative penalties and corrective actions, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. King, you want to brief us on this?
Yes. So, in some of the turnover and stuff that happened with the city over the past year, and the engineers are here, they can be happy to answer some questions also. Basically, a stormwater permit is required to be filed 180 days prior to the expiry of that permit, and that did not happen here. So, not that we, they continue to operate the city and maintain the stormwater system, but that permit was not filed for, and this is a result of not doing that. It's a $4,400 fine, a notice of intent. There's a couple of requirements that we've got to do on behalf of the city, but just so everybody's assured, we're doing everything that we're supposed to behind the scenes as far as stormwater goes. It's just that in the turnover y'all had here, losing Jason at that time, also lost a stormwater operator at that time. This is something that fell through the cracks that we're gonna get fixed. And engineers here are with Civil Service that's consulting us with stormwater. They'd be happy to address any other questions that may come up.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Attorney. So there was an apparent mix-up, I would say, in that the staff that was handling it was let go, unfortunately, and that was the lead, and they were originally copied on this. We had a lot of back and forth trying to establish it. So what happens is every 5 years, you submit what's called an NOI, it's a notice of intent, and that you establish your own rules, basically, that you have to follow for the next 5 years. It looks almost identical to an annual report. So as soon as you finish and the existing annual report is finished, then you file the NOI. Well, we had sent the NOI, let's say, like, I think the day, we said, okay, this is now your NOI. Here's how you get your exemptions because you were eligible for some of the permit fee waivers. And so we went through that process. But apparently, the employee that was kind of handling that for the team was dismissed around that time. It didn't strike us as unusual because I'll say it's a draft NOI that usually then it has to get signed internally. It gets sent internally. We're not always updated because there's a lot of back and forth. And just as parallels, there's 3 agencies that do this almost at the exact same time. We've received nothing back from either of the other 2 agencies, so it didn't strike us as unusual to not hear anything back from the DEP. Then we finally heard something when the permit date expired it was in September. So shortly thereafter, we filed the NOI with, I'll say, obviously a new team who's in here. Not everyone was here at the time, so I'm just trying to be as forthcoming as I can. So,
Understood.
but it's really unfortunate. It's how could it have been prevented? In the future, we're definitely going to put a follow-up requirement, just hey, auto email, whatever it is, on the next one. But I could see.
Can we make the notice person the city manager? Because generally speaking, they're a little more stable.
They were copied, but the city manager is also departed around,
Okay.
just after that. So yes, I would definitely copy. And I'd worked with the city manager on the prior NOI. So I know he's quite aware of exactly what's required. It's just there was the back and forth, By the time the next one got signed, then that one departed. So then we actually have a new one with a new signatory. So that's you're right. I agree with that.
Understood. Any questions on resolution 2026-11?
No.
I have a question for Jason. Jason, was it even started before the expiration date?
I don't know if they started it, but we got a letter back that stated it was not complete and it
So
was
that means
missing.
it was initially
It
submitted.
started, but it wasn't fully. The process wasn't. They didn't submit all the proper documentation, but that went straight to Dr. Kelly's.
Okay.
Testing.
There you go.
Yeah, when I was became aware of this, it looked exactly like that. That the emails that had been sent from the regulatory agency had landed, in Dr. Kelly's box, and the prior stormwater operator, and then Jason, of course, who wasn't here. So this went, unnoticed and below the radar. And once we realized there was an issue, we worked with these guys to get it corrected. But yes, in the future, needs to go to a Public Works generic email or somewhere where that's captured, so that this kind of thing doesn't happen in the future.
We'll put some safeguards in place to keep that from happening.
Calendaring system would be great. Because then once they put it on the calendar, even if they get terminated, it's still there, hopefully.
Yeah, it's just in stormwater, there's not a lot of depth in that group for small communities. So if you lose one of your key personnel, then if they were corresponding with that person, it kind of dies there.
Understood. Any other questions?
So what was the deadline for this?
We had put together a draft in March of last year. We put together what we believed would be the final after the acceptance in April of last year. The permit doesn't physically expire until September of last year. Okay. So we submitted days after, because we already had it. All of the documents were together and ready and just needed to be signed. So it wasn't like it wasn't done. It wasn't like, it wasn't partially in. Just one physical document had to be signed and then resent in. And we did that in, I believe, September 20th or 21st of last year. But as your attorney knows, the consent order process is lengthy. And so we were trying to get a short form worked out where they had already accepted it, but as is typical, the EP always has their comments, and most of it is, I'll call it Scrivener, there's no real material changes. It's move this here, delete this. It's fine. It just makes the process. That's what we assumed we'd go through, and we're going through that with Avon, Sebring and Highlands as well.
So now, are there any penalties for exceeding the deadline?
What there is because you worked without a permit for approximately a month and a half, I believe it is, and there's no active permit, but we're seeking it. It's I think it's $4,400.
That's including administrative fees.
Correct.
But the first 10 years of my work, that was about 60% of my work. So negotiating those penalties down. Next time, if you want to talk to me, I might be able to help you with that. But
is it too late?
At this point, it's too late.
That's what I was going to ask.
Once you've let them construct one and give it to you. But in the negotiation phase, when they call you in, it's not a firm number. What they throw out.
Understood. Yeah, you can do in like kind type project, an in-kind project, and it's
Which
usually
benefits the city and DEP. Yeah. So
it has to be. I'll say, yeah. I could go into that a little bit, but they didn't offer that because it wasn't an active permit. That's the rub. Is it wasn't like something wasn't done quite right. It was because the permit didn't exist.
yeah, but it's only a month. But at any rate,
right.
I
wasn't.
understand. I understand.
Right.
You guys did the best you could.
What was your name?
Craig Fuller.
Craig Fullick?
Fuller, Fuller,
Okay.
with Civil Serve Design Group. Yeah.
So, Mr. Foot, I have a question. So if October was the month that we worked without a permit, when was it successfully submitted?
They still have comments. It'll probably go on until, these usually go on, I want to say roughly 6 months to a year. So, in fact, I will say the last cycle, we're working on a bunch of phase ones, especially in Pinellas. And I want to say they're on year 8 of a 5-year permit. So as far as like the way things get agreed to, it just basically you get administratively continued, meaning they will accept as long as you report according to your prior permit and just keep reporting as you were and doing as you were until they agree to it.
You have to file your renewal before was it 6 months before the
That's it.
deadline? Yeah. And if you do that, then you can administratively stay permitted,
Right.
as long as you answer all their questions.
Right. And then reply back in a month, even though maybe it's not complete, because they give you a month, but they take significantly longer.
Yeah.
This is not a dig. They're just very understaffed, and I know that.
I'll take the dig.
So it was sent to Danielle in April, but then it just never got sent to them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions on resolution 2026-11? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve D10, the resolution 2026-11.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure? Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you.
All right. Is there something else to add?
No, we're just giving a report on the next year. I was protecting the innocent. She wasn't working on this at all. In fact, she was doing Highlands counties at the time. So she was the regional area for that. So it's just the next line item.
Understood. Item number 11, this will be the MPDES Cycle 5 report for stormwater activities. Go ahead when you're ready.
And so Craig Fuller again, and I wanted to introduce Kelsey Whidden. She's down here in Sebring, so very local. If there's any issues on this, we brought her in because of her prior knowledge. She worked with Jason, your city manager, on your prior cycle.
Okay.
And on the creation of their own NOI. And so I just wanted to let her go over some of the updates because I know she worked a lot on the reporting and what's in there, and it's honestly fairly similar. If you'd like to, or I'll cover whatever. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Hi, Kelsey Whidden for the record. So the annual report, as required by the NOI, we need to address the council annually to comply with that permitting requirement. It was not done on the former cycle, again, with the changeover in the stormwater staff and changeover with city manager. So at this point, now we're going to address you currently that this is the status, again, of the permit, all of the permitting requirements, and that we will be going forward doing that annually again. And as Tommy and I discussed, it'll most likely be towards the end of the cycle. So we have the annual report. We're getting back on track right now. So everything is looking a lot better.
Yeah. So the meat of the report, there's specific items. One is public. So that's part of this. This meets public. That way, the origin of this is the Clean Water Act, right? So we just hit 50 years. It's very important. I come from Ohio, where it was really important. I know you don't have as much issues down here, but they're becoming greater. As development occurs, what happens is the runoff goes into your lakes. The intent of this permit and the intent of all of the best management practices are to clean out your existing collection system, clean up the roads, clean up the lakes, basically prevent them from becoming some of the, I don't want to point it at my city, but Winter Haven's lakes, obviously, the growth happened so fast before there were regulations. They've really are trying to recover as opposed to prevent. So what you're doing is prevent, and also to prevent it from all going. You're part of what's called a BMAP, Basin Management Action Plan. Everything from here well, at least part of it, goes south eventually to Lake Okeechobee. And it's funny that Lake Okeechobee is a lot of where it goes, but you're reporting most of your stuff to the Southwest District, which is Peace River. But that's kind of how it all got split up, is your main watershed and where everything goes. So there's public reporting, there's a requirement for education of your personnel. We do updates annually. There's also the businesses, and so we go through and we make sure that your staff actually presents to these businesses how they can limit certain discharges. There's the and there's that other permit. There's the specific ones, and I'm trying to. Yeah, the multi-sector generic permits. Yeah, so that's where I believe there's 13 separate ones, and each one has their own rules. It's kind of the major potentials. They have their own permitting, but you're just there to make sure they're following what they're supposed to do. But also, each time that there's a construction permit, they have to pull their own generic permit, which prevents runoff, and they put up their silt fences, and your team's there to make sure that everything goes in as it's supposed to, so your lakes don't get destroyed, your watershed doesn't get destroyed, and basically to limit downstream issues. So it's to the overall result ends up being better water quality and honestly increased value to your city. So that's kind of the intent of the permit. We have to report on, right now it's about 20 items, but it's going to, they're splitting it up. I'll say it's more like 40 or 50 in the next cycle. But it's really the way it's being reported as opposed to combining 5 or 6 things in one. It's being split. So it's just really preference, and that's part of this back and forth that we're working out on the next NOI.
Understood. Any questions on this report? Anything else to add? Okay. Thank you very much. This will not need a motion, right?
No.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, item number 12. This will be resolution 2026-12, the grapple truck purchase.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Avon Park, Florida, authorizing the purchase of 2026 Route Assistant Grapple Loader from the Peterson Industries, Inc., utilizing Sourcewell Contract Number 11826, authorizing an interdepartmental budget adjustment within a solid waste enterprise fund, authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents and providing an effective date.
Okay, I want to go over this for those listening at home, and plus because we're going to have a slideshow, but I want to go over the background. Our city offers bulk and yard waste collection for Avon Park residents. We collect bulk and yard waste on alternating weeks. Our trucks are nearing the end of their service life cycle and are experiencing mechanical failures on a frequent basis. We need to add a new truck to our grapple fleet and utilize our older truck in case of emergency or high work volume. That's been the case as of late with the freeze. The amount of people putting out yard debris has been significant. The solid waste division currently has 2 grapple truck in its fleet. One's a 2006 Lightning loader, and the other's a 2019 Lightning loader. So a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old truck. The new design of the truck offers the ability to pick up small bulk and yard debris without having to operate the boom portion of the equipment, saving time and increasing equipment life. The truck would be purchased utilizing a Sourcewell contract to satisfy procurement requirements. After contact with a Peterson Industry salesman, the city can have a new grapple truck delivered in mid-April 2026. So it would have been here, if approved, it could have been here sooner, but they have it scheduled for an equipment trade show. So for the financial impact, the city budgeted $200,000 in FY25 for rentals and leases, and again $160,000 in FY26 on rentals and leases. To this date, the city encumbered $102,000 to be spent on a front-load garbage truck that we're renting. Current leasing offers are over 7% annual percentage rate, so it's a significant amount of finance charges that we'd incur. Interest is significant. We have identified funding available within the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund to purchase the equipment outright. There's currently $250,000 available within the fund that can be used for the purchase while still leaving a balance in contingency of $34,500. So just want to go over this slideshow real quick. So that's this is somewhat what the truck looks like. There is an option. You could either, when you're looking at the side where the downriggers are, you can either get a split where it's a box where you can put small debris in and have it with a tipper. So we can utilize totes for if people will have yard waste, they can utilize that. We do, I want to say it's like 200 to 300 old recycling bins that totes that we can utilize for yard waste for people who would like to have those. And then people can put their yard debris in there, and that can tip it. I would like to show you next slide. So is that a video or? Okay, so that is the full display. So you see the full side tipper on the side of it. So it gives you a little bit more room where you could put things. So for instance, if our staff goes to pick up, say, a glass table or a glass mirror, right now they would basically have to try to throw it up into the truck or have the claw closed and try to fit it in there somehow and then get it over the top. They couldn't pick it up because if they did, it would shatter all over the floor, and then we'd have a pretty significant cleanup. Next slide, please. So this is where it has on the side assist, but if you look to the right, there is a portion where that will hook up into the garbage can, similar to our automated side loader that we use to dump the garbage bins for our regular garbage pickup. Next slide. Next slide, please. Is this a video or? Okay, is there you got any video there? No? Okay. So what this does, it makes it really simple. Someone could get out, they could have a two-man team working. They can get out there and sweep up the debris. They can pick up the smaller items, put them right there in that bin. So I like to use a two-man team. It's throughout the industry, two-man teams work really well because that way some people will put the debris on top of whether it be a backflow or they'll put it next to something that shouldn't be put on top of. There's even instances where people put it up on their mailboxes. So having a ground guy works out really well. This just speeds up everything. You can dump that side loader without ever having to remove the top portion. I lift the boom up in the air in order to dump it. It can dump it just like that. So it makes everything much faster. It's cleaner. It's better on the personnel that utilize the equipment. It really helps them out. And I think it would increase our efficiency, and it would be a benefit overall to the city to have this piece of equipment.
Any questions on the grapple truck purchase?
I have a question. So Jason, that means the staff is gonna be doing much more lifting than normal.
No, whatever
I'm
they
talking
can.
about the small pieces.
Oh, for the small, I mean, they can pick up what they need to pick up with the grapple. But if it's small, like, if you get a bag of leaves, for instance, there's a bag of leaves, right? People they still bagging the leaves, which it makes it easier in their yard. They can just go up to it, rip open the bag, and dump it right in. Because we can't take that bag to our landfill, or where we dump it. It's not necessarily a landfill, but the sand mines. So that has to be removed. Now, there's not currently a way. You would have to open it on the ground and then pick it up off the floor and put it there, or call in the small garbage truck if they're doing yard debris collection, and then you would have to open it up and it would go in there and it would get hauled off.
Or lots
Thi-
of times you see the guy trying to climb the truck to throw it
yeah,
in there. which
yeah,
is-
it would be much less on stress on them doing that. So
Okay, so I'm trying to make sure I understand this right. So now residents gonna walk up to the truck and no? The staff is gonna take the bags and
Yes,
put
ma'am.
them in there, but
Yeah.
residents is not gonna be
Yes.
lifting nothing.
so let me see if I can. I'm just looking to see if I can find a video that I could send this over. But it's it was supposed to be a video here. So the strictly for yard waste would be the totes. So the totes, if you put it in there, it's not for bulk. We would prefer that it not be for bulk because people will get confused and then we'll have to try to figure out what's in that bin. And I really don't want to get to that point, preferably.
So on Mondays, when this truck goes out, it's picking up what? Yard
Whatever it is that week.
Okay, so it's going to be used for multiple purposes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how
Whichever
much-
week it's running. Remember, it's one week is
Gotcha.
yard waste.
I got you.
One week it's the other.
So once this truck is full, let's just say, well, actually, that's a different question for another day.
I would love to show you how it works. I mean, a picture's worth of so anyway, I sent it to Matt, but
Are these trucks required to be driven by CDL drivers?
yes,
Yeah.
any air brake truck is required to be
Okay.
driven by CDO. But if it's a really good truck and it's available. Usually you have to wait on these very long. When I'm looking, I go out and I try to find out who has vehicles available because we need them. We got lucky, but it being available so quick, and I think it'll be a really good thing for our employees and the cleanliness of the city overall.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have, Jason, how old is the trucks we have now?
2016 and 2019. So 7 and 10 years old.
And what's the lifespan of them?
Depending how you operate them, things start going. We may be able to get them about it's 7 to 10 years. Then you start getting like having to replace a boom. You have to replace a knuckle portion. It starts getting more things breaking, pins breaking, and also it's just making sure staff goes out and greases their equipment properly, greases the pins so they don't snap. Here you go. I think this. Please say it works. All right. So if this was a small garbage truck, like we would run out there, this would be something they would do. However, we would, because of our operation, we would have to break the bags open in order to do this. So the bigger piles, they just go up, they pick it up like that. Guy rakes up the fine portion that wasn't picked up. They just put it right there in that bin, just like that. It's waist height, so they don't have to reach up, they don't have to strain. And they can put that's the tipper. That works with a ground guy. But doesn't require ground. It's just good to have. So that's it in a nutshell. I mean, that's exactly how it works. And instead of having to throw it, where the guy has to basically hold the clam and then you have to try to stick your hands in there. The profession, it's it's a tasking profession, and you can get injured doing it. Like if you have to pick up too heavy leave. So we're trying to do as much as possible just to try to keep the employees with the equipment that'll really help them out on a day-to-day basis.
And I still see that rolling cart. It picked up that rolling cart. So here in Avon Park, we're gonna allow them to put yard waste in a rolling cart?
Yeah,
That's my question.
in a specified cart that we have old recycling carts that are in a retired water facility near the county line road.
So we're gonna bring those out.
So or we can figure it out whether we put the address and to ask people if they want to come pick it up. If for some reason they don't have a truck, then maybe we can deliver. We can check and see, and the council could be involved on how you direct us if you want anything specific. But like say there's a lady who wants to do it, but she doesn't have a truck and she would love to have it. I'm sure we could assist with that.
The bins, I'm sorry. The bins that you mentioned? I don't know. Is that what you were speaking about, Miss Taylor?
Yeah, the garbage bins that we have right now.
Okay, and are those the bins that you're talking about, or
Remember
are there
the old
extras?
Remember the old recycling bins that you had, the blue ones?
Yes.
Those.
Oh, okay.
Those. And I actually put it in the code when we were doing the code that if you write on there on the clearly label it as yard debris, then you can use that. That way you don't have to dump it on the floor because you may not want to dump your stuff on the floor. You want a cleaner look.
On the ground,
yeah, preferably. And it goes into what we spoke about. So.
Any other questions?
Right, or is this going to
Yes.
be like, okay.
Yes.
Be for $248,697.95. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Last call for questions.
So I hope this will eliminate any don't take excuses as a bad way, but excuses that we want, people won't get their garbage picked up because we had a broke down truck.
We'll make every effort not to do that. We're trying to make sure we provide excellent customer service. That's our goal.
Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Item number 13, this will be an interlocal agreement between the City of Avon Park and Highlands County for the pickleball courts at Donaldson Park. Ms. Phillips.
Okay, presented to you today is the formal interlocal agreement with the county for RPAC funding towards the pickleball courts. The county has allowed us to use the current year funding versus waiting to the next fiscal year. As previously stated, we have limited the direct impact of general fund by utilizing $392,100 of CRA Main Street funds and applying for RPAC funds to cover the difference in the amount of $145,000. We request that the council move to approve the interlocal agreement for the pickleball courts in the amount of $145,000.
All right, do we have any questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve D13, the interlocal agreement between the City of Avon Park and Highlands County for the pickleball courts at Donaldson Park in the amount of $145,000.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Item number 14, this will be Resolution 2026-13.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Avon Park, Florida, authorizing the termination of state-funded grant agreement with the State of Florida Department of Transportation, contract number G2C56/FM number 449669-1-54-01 for the Fred Connor Street resurfacing project, authorizing the mayor as designee to execute the termination agreement and provide an effective date.
Okay, this is to close out the project that was performed on Fred Connor Street where there was milling paving and a new sidewalk placed out on in between South Carolina Avenue and Memorial Drive.
Okay, any questions? Yep. Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve resolution 2026-13?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Let's call for questions. Seeing none, please call a roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. All right, staff updates. Seeing none, attorney updates.
Well, as I mentioned at the last meeting, I can give you a more final report on legislation since its legislation has closed. If that's what you would like, I can give you a skirted, or I can give you an intermediate, or I can give you a deep dive. Which would you prefer? This is the document.
Wow. Skirted would be fine with me.
About update what changed since the last time you gave it to us.
Jerry,
Okay.
before you begin, and I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt, but is there any way that you can email a copy to us, or is
Yeah,
that
just
your-
send me an email requesting it.
Okay.
I'd be happy to send
Okay,
one.
okay.
Yeah,
Just so I can read what you don't go over.
well, yeah, it'll have a lot more detail than what I'm going over anyway, because there's no way you could possibly go through all this.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and so I'm trying to get the best stuff. All right, so, or not good, but there it is.
Pertinent.
Utility services. So as you recall, that there was a bill that was proposed to remove the 25% surcharge for outside the city limits charges. That bill has passed, and the bill provides that utilities have. So they're going to be removing that provide 25% surcharge. It's under 180.191. The bill provides that the cities, utilities that have pledged currently authorized surcharge revenues for debt service have until 2029 to phase out the surcharge, or until the debt is retired or renewed, whichever occurs first. So, I think you do have bonds that are probably tied to that. You need to check that. But if you do, and they're longer than 2029, you only get to 2029. It otherwise goes into effect July 1st, 2027. And that also, this bill also specifies that any agreement to provide extraterritorial water or wastewater utility service at retail must be in writing. It also provides that, and the utilities will love this, the bill proposes that the annual reporting requirement of the Florida Public Service Commission for utilities providing extraterritorial water and wastewater service beginning January 2027. That's right around the corner in legislative days. And for each type of utility service provided, a report must specify, and it has a list of things that you have to go into, which I'm going to leave for somebody to look at later, but you need to know that report is going to be required by January 2027 because we do serve outside the city limits. Failure to submit the report may subject the utility to daily financial penalties imposed by the Public Service Commission. I'm going to skip over this one. PFAS. There's a new bill regarding PFAS beginning July 1st, 2029. Possession and use of AFFF are prohibited except for the following: airports, military installations, emergency firefighting situations, alternative firefighting foam is not available, specific AFF retrofit projects. It directs the DEP to adopt rules for containment, collection, and disposal of AFFF, to maintain the registry for AFFF alternatives, and provide technical assistance for grants and transition of non-AFFF products. And it also provides for imposition of civil penalties. There's more to that with regard to wastewater facilities that have a daily flow of 25,000 or more gallons per day, with regard to testing and so on, which you're going to have to do. I'll skip over that. Since we talked about stormwater earlier, there's a new stormwater treatment bill. It's passed, and it's Senate Bill 848. If you want to look at it. Appointment of personnel, there's going to be passed as revises Section 760 Florida statutes relating to filing complaints under the Florida Civil Rights Act. And the bill specifies that civil action commenced under this act shall be commenced no later than 1 year after the date of determination of reasonable cause by the Florida Commission on Human Relations or the issuance of a notice of right to sue by Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, whichever is earlier. And there's more to that. Firefighter cancer benefits, basically saying that relating to line of duty death benefits for firefighters who die of from cancer or treatment of cancer. Says that the death benefits under the sections must be made available by the former employee of the firefighter for 1 year after the firefighter terminates employment, so long as the firefighter otherwise meets the other criteria. Military affairs revises military service leave for public employees and expands the eligibility for their payment. I'll skip over that. House Bill 91 revises the form of candidate oath under 99.021 for persons seeking to qualify for nomination as candidate of any political party. Ethics of Public Officers and Employees revises the definition of a relative under the Code of Ethics of Public Officers to include foster parents and foster children. Under elections, this is a substantial revision to the state's elections laws relating primarily to voter registration, citizen verification, and election administration. It requires proof and verification of United States citizenship and expands data sharing and record-keeping requirements of the Department of State, Department of Safety and Motor Vehicles, and Supervisor of Elections. There's a lot more to that. You could spend half an hour on that. Local government finances, House Bill 1329 creates the Local Government Financial Transparency and Accountability Act and imposes new budget reporting requirements of municipalities. In addition, the bill revises statutory impact fee requirements. Under the budget reduction exercise, it requires local governments to conduct a budget workshop at which the governing body performs a budget reduction exercise that identifies the strategies to potentially reduce the ensuing fiscal year budget by 10% in comparison with the current budget year without compromising essential public services. This exercise must be posted on the local government's website, and there's other aspects to that, and there's a lot more to that. Impact fees aspect says impose new and substantive procedural constraints on how local governments can calculate, justify, and increase impact fees. I won't go into all that. We'll have to deal with that if you guys decide to do that. Electronic payments. This House Bill 967 requires units of local government to accept payments online by credit card, charge card, debit card, or other means of electronic funds transfer. It's not an option anymore. Let's see. This is a big one. The suits against the government. House Bill 145 increases statutory limits on liability for tort claims against the state and political subdivisions such as the city to $350,000 per claim and $500,000 per incident. This will be for any actions accruing on or after October 1st, 2026. The bill shortens pre-suit notice period to 18 months and makes some other changes associated with that. Senate Bill 1134 prohibits counties and municipalities from funding, promoting, or taking any official action relating to diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI, and provides that existing ordinances, resolutions, rules, regulations, programs, or policies relating to DEI are void. And it goes into a lot of, I think, common sense exceptions, recognizing federal holidays, state holidays, patriotic and national observances, monuments, recognizing individuals or groups, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of meat there that I will skip over. If you'd like to review it, I will make it available. Local government cybersecurity creates Section 282.31855 Florida Statutes, a local government cybersecurity protection program to assist counties and municipalities in mitigating and defending against cybersecurity threats, including ransomware incidents. There's a lot more to that. Might be interested in local land planning and development. There's just a ton of this stuff that I could possibly go through all of it. Requires certain counties and municipalities to implement development pre-application consulting services program to utilize qualified private sector contractors to supplement local government review of specified development permit applications. Since you use Central Florida Regional Planning Council, that probably doesn't apply so much to you since you already have somebody that's the professionals that do that. They amended the Live Local Act in a couple ways. It's in here. I've got over that. See if we can find anything else. There's just a ton of stuff here. There's a section on historic cemeteries, requires municipalities and counties to administratively approve applications for change zoning and land use designations for historic African American cemeteries recorded in the Florida Master Site File if the cemetery sells excess vacant land to fund cemetery for long-term maintenance and upkeep. Then data centers, those things that, for IT and so on, they're going to be developing a lot of power. There's restrictions on considering those for zoning purposes as large load customers to be considered electric substations and so on. There's a cutout now in Public Records Act for the requirements for meetings for portions of meetings between agencies and their attorneys to discuss claims under the Burt J. Harris Private Properties Rights Act during the 90-day notice period under the Act, which allow you to discuss settlement or the claim without having it cast everywhere publicly. There's an expansion of exemption for victim in the Public Records Act for victims of crime. As I mentioned before, this act passed regarding the cameras for code enforcement officers and protection from Public Records Act on that. There's an expansion of the public nuisance statute. It's basically a big part of it had to do with gambling houses and doing away with those if they have more than 2 occasions within a 12-month period, they're in violation. But also it has a section relating to assessment and collection of fines for public nuisance and deletes the $15,000 statutory limit on the total amount of fines that can be imposed for a public nuisance. But it would appear to me like you would have to have a nuisance abatement board. There's a expansion of sexual offenders and sexual predators prohibitions. Bill prohibits sexual offenders from residing within 1,000 feet of schools, child care facilities, parks, and playgrounds, which were previously there, but now they've added public swimming pools. Also increases the distance for lording or prowling by specific sex offenders from 300 to 500 feet of places where children congregate. There's other parts of that as well. Micromobility it doesn't apply to us anymore because that group went away. But we'll have to modify the ordinance. But if we get a new one, yeah. So there's automatic dependent surveillance broadcasts. The Senate Bill 422 prohibits airports from using airplanes' ADS-B information to ascertain an airplane's location to generate or collect fees from aircraft owners or operators within Florida. The prohibition applies to fees assessed for landings, including touch-and-go landings, aircraft departures, and entry into specified radius of the airport. This prohibition is extended to both public and private airports. And that is the skim version.
Any questions?
Are those all passed and signed?
They're all passed, but I don't know what has been signed so far, but it's pretty recent since they closed the legislature down. So I don't know what the governor has approved yet.
Okay.
But if you're interested, there's also going to be I believe the Florida League of Cities, I got this from Rebecca O'Hara from the Florida League of Cities. She's one of their lobbyists. And this is what they're going to present tomorrow night, as I understand it. And the version I have is not finalized, but she gave me the courtesy of giving me this copy so I could go over it with you. If you want to participate in that, you can go on the website and find out when that and how to participate with that presentation by them. It's always very good. It's the lobbyist Cruz and O'Hara.
Okay. Any questions?
Send me an email if you want this version, but like I said, it's going to be finalized for tomorrow's night's presentation.
Very good. City manager updates.
Council discussion.
Okay, what you got?
Is there any way, I've listened to the YouTube videos back some, and our sound system is awful. Not only, well, sometimes not up here so much, but at the back table. Is there any way that we can look into getting some new microphones for them?
Sure. Will do.
Okay. Because it's awful, and I see people and I hear people complaining about the audio video. Not you, just the microphones.
Is it?
What's up? Yes. Yep.
Is that it, Shelley? Is that it?
Look.
I wanted to say something, Jason, before we get to the city manager's update. Does council know that Shelley is the primary liaison for the Avon Park Housing Authority, and I am her assistant? I'm bringing before to this council in regards to housing for the CDBG grant. I've checked the city 5-year CIP, and I've confirmed that we do not have any small city CDBG designated for our 5 years. To keep the state fund from being lost, I'm requesting that the council consider the housing authority apply for a housing CDBG to rehab Ridgedale apartment on the corner of 17 and Fairview Avenue. There are 36 unit housing. Some of our most vulnerable residents live there. The housing authority is eligible recipient of CDBG funding, and the grant would be used for rehab of the units of old sewer infrastructure. The Avon Park Housing Authority was created by the City Council in 1965 to provide affordable housing. Give me a minute. Got to move my cursor here. Y'all bear with me. Okay, so Ridgedale is in dire need of having some rehab done to it. The grant has to be sponsored by the city, and it'd be monitored for the compliance by the city. The grant consultant for the city is Fred Fox, and he has already performed several housing CDBGs for us. The city would do the procurement as they have done in the past. Even the newspaper bid advertisement would be paid for by the grant. Potentially, there's about $750,000 or even more, depending on the state appropriation. The grant application cycle is April the 6th through May the 5th. Considering the city has nothing on the books for our 5-year, it makes sense to sponsor this as the governing agency of the Housing Authority. There would be no need for CRA or city funding, and the administration of the grant is paid for by the grant itself. Give me a minute. considering, and once again, considering the city has nothing on the books for the 5 years, it makes sense. If during an audit, there is extra expense on the city for a single audit, then the housing authority will remove the burden from the taxpayer and pay that portion. So I am requesting that this council apply for the CDBG grant for assisting the Avon Park Housing Authority, specifically Ridgedale Apartment. That's a motion.
Or you said Ridgedale, right? The Ridgedale one?
That's the one that sit on the corner of 17 and Fairview. Fairview Terrace. It's right down from Freeze King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll second your motion.
Yeah, so would we need an actual proposal of some sort? Jerry?
Yeah, well, generally speaking, you get a proposal from Fred Fox, saying what the grant is done, and then you get to choose the options associated with that. That's usually how it's done, but, you know, I'm not saying it can't be done this way, but.
So
but it's
is
just
your motion for, you mentioned Fred Fox, is your motion for Fred Fox to bring us
Well-
back an actual executable
Yes,
agreement?
yes.
Thank you.
You still wish to second? Okay. Yeah, big question I would just have is, you know, is it true that there's nothing else for housing on the books? What else can the funds be used for? What are the options? I know that he's done all of the, or at least most of the CDBG stuff that I've seen recently. So I'm sure he would probably be the best one to answer all those questions. So
Okay.
I have no issue with him bringing opportunities before us.
So.
And this
so-
money would just be strictly for Ridgedale
Yes,
apartments.
because when you do a grant, if I'm right, it has to be a specific location, does it not?
Yes.
So specifically for Ridgedale, because due to all the housing authorities, you know, Ridgedale's the worst. Now, there, in the future, we won't be requesting for others, but right now, we want Ridgedale to be first. Because it is in the worst shape.
So if the motion passes, you would get with Fred Fox and basically tell him what you want and have him make a presentation with regard to that for the council to approve. Move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I would just obviously want him to tell us what else the funds can be used for as well.
And my only question is, how did you go about picking this location? Did you have several buildings and an idea, and you just checked them out and thought this would be the best choice, or how did you pick that address, that location?
Have you been to Ridgedale before?
I didn't ask that question. I asked the other question that said.
Okay,
how
I'm
did you
just
pick it?
asking you, had you been there
I'm sure
before?
there's more than one area that can be picked. I'm
That's,
just asking the
that,
question.
I know, and I'm just saying, I'm
Here's
just,
the answer, Jim. Here's the answer. I sit on that board, have been for what, a good year and a half. And, not only that, I don't live too far from Ridgedale. Okay, I go there, I see the people, I go in apartments if I have to. Ridgedale is in poor shape and have been for quite some time. And I also go to the Avon Park Other Housing Authority. And if you in the area as much as I am, you would know that Ridgedale is the worst of all of them. I think Ridgedale, other than Lakeside Park 1 and 2, Ridgedale is probably the next oldest. Other than Lakeside Park 1 and 2, which sits next to what we call Coca-Cola Lake. I'm not sure if that's the proper name. That's Lakeside Park 1 and 2.
Okay.
The part that's set close to the lake is 2. Behind the office is 1. And then Ridgedale is probably the second oldest. But for whatever reason, Lakeside 1 and 2 seems to be holding its own. Not that it don't need work to it, but it's holding its own better than Ridgedale. Ridgedale has a lot of, if I remember right, a lot of contracted issues going on with it as well.
I believe Ridgedale is the only Section 8 community. Is that correct?
We don't have Section H here. We don't have Section H. We used to.
Section
Long-
8.
Section H. Avon Park doesn't have Section H.
I know it was at one time.
One time, it was.
Do you know when that ended?
Do I know what?
Do you know when Ridgedale stopped
Lost
being
it.
Section 8?
That was probably, if I can remember, probably in the nineties, early 2000s. Yeah, but they haven't had Section 8 here in a long time.
So now does it have the same rules as the other communities?
What you mean, like
Well, I know
housing authority rules?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know like North Central Heights, that was always I used to sit on that same board. And North Central Heights was kind of their crown jewel, but part of that was because of the rules they had implemented. They could, there was no fooling around in North Central Heights. You followed the rules or they kicked you out.
Okay, well, the rules are the same. Housing authority rules are housing authority rules.
Well, that's what I'm asking because
Yeah.
I know at one time the Section 8 rules prevented them from carrying out the same type of stuff as in North Central Heights. So
Yeah.
But
The
I would just be curious if there was a long-term plan as to what they were trying to achieve.
Make
with
them look like condominiums
Mm.
and take better care of them. When you're talking about the residents that lives in Ridgedale, they don't pay very much. These are very low income housing, okay?
Right.
And we don't really have contractors to come into the city and build what we call low income. They start with pretty much at the moderate.
Right.
And so, be honest, let's keep it real. Some of these people may pay $15 a month because of their income. These housings are categorized by your income, and Ridgedale is one of the lowest. Yeah, so it could use some help. Over the years, it could use some help. We could do better. The board that's the new board that sits there, we could do better. And our goal is to do better by the residents of Avon Park. But our goal also is to require more of the resident that's living in Ridgedale. Yes.
Has the board of executive director run by this with you? You talked to them about it already?
You mean housing authority?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've discussed it at more than one meeting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
One more question. So Jason, when you gonna bring this back to the board for the Red Fox to gather all the information that we need? Because actually we want to move forward with it.
Well,
So the sooner the better.
That will be up to Fred Fox.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Fred Fox and then maybe Miss Sutherland. Maybe we'll figure out something and bring something back to help out the people over there.
All right, so we have a motion. We have a second. Anything else to add? Questions?
Nope.
Seeing none, is there we'll go ahead and call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McKeer?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. All right, city manager update.
All right. At the end of the month, end of this week, I'll be sending out the monthly council report for March. On the city website, I made it decided to put a capital projects page at the top, usually where it says residents and visitors, and then there's another one for departments, services. There's going to be one for capital projects. It's an easy find, so people could look in there and see the active status of a project, the larger projects, not so much the smaller ones. Maybe some pictures of active progress. So as you, like, for instance, you can see at the MLK field out there, they're stripping it and, getting it ready to where they can laser grade the field and put irrigation and then hopefully have it sodded up and get it ready for football season. So I want that to be in front of everyone to see exactly for council to look at, for residents and businesses. I think it'd work out really well for us. Out at the airport, there's kind of going on behind the scenes, but there was the fire with the plane that took place out at the airport, and so there was foam that was sprayed out. Well, the foam had PFAS in it, a certain level. So through when FAMCAVO was still, they authorized work. We never actually saw that authorization. However, there was so when Rossi, we took over the airport, but in that process, there's a company called Hulls Environmental. They were tasked with hauling that debris away, the PFAS, and there was an insurance carrier for It was a Chubb. Chubb was a parent company, but it was another company that was involved. I think it was Westchester, and they had paid a portion. I want to say $70,000 of an invoice, and there was a remaining balance of like $7,000. Originally, when it came to us, kind of Rossi Group with Casey kind of cut that off. Well, so the dumpster just sat out there, and Hulls wanted to get their payment, and prior to taking the dumpster off, and said, okay, for $7,000, let's see what we do. Well, ultimately, there was another bill that came another 70 something thousand dollars to haul it to Alabama. At that point, that was a very high charge. So we started looking at alternative ways to get those dumpsters off the airfield, because we needed to get them off the airfield, and it's a requirement that DEP do that. However, because of the procurement requirements and everything that goes along with it, I reached out to DEP to see what my options were. When DEP got involved, at the same time, this was all working with our insurance carriers. Denise did a fabulous job, and basically we were able to have our policy kick in, but our policy was for $50,000 is what they would cover. Well, working with, but nobody knew that behind the scenes. So end up in the discussions, the PFAS thing have to get hauled to Alabama. It was closer, but there's still a significant disposal cost required, and we were able to settle that, and we're going through the legal means, but we signed an agreement, and that will be hauled off the airfield, and we won't have any money out of pocket for that project. So, we saved a decent amount. Plus, we're going to get it off. It was a worrisome for me because I didn't like it out there, and there's daily rental rates and everything involved. So that's taken care of. Yes.
I have a question on
yes.
that. Have you heard anything from the state fire marshal regarding that fire?
So yes, well, we know that it was intentional, but in speaking with the Chief Marcy and the amount, basically they'll open the case, and I say bad things about fire marshal or anything, but they're just so swamped that they start the case, they open it, they can make a predetermination, but actively getting in to find out, going through the whole investigative process, they haven't done that. And I don't know what the likelihood is.
So the case is still open. It just hasn't been looked into.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. But yeah, our goal is to get those 6 dumpsters off. Part of it has an airplane in it, get it out off the airfield, and so we're operating normal.
Jason, I have a question for
yes.
you. Move on about the airport. Even though I sit on the airport board, okay, what have the city of Avon Park done, especially this council, in regards to security cameras? To prevent something like this from happening again. What have we done?
Okay, so we
Because,
do.
Wait a minute, Jason, because
I'm sorry.
as of right now, we don't know who the suspect is, right? I mean, without calling any name, there's nothing concrete at this moment, right?
Correct.
So my question is, I'm saying, I just felt like if we had some cameras or something, we would have saw something. So, what have we, council, City of Avon Park, done to prevent this from happening again?
Okay, what we have done is when we took over the airport, like there were cameras that were unplugged, put on the shelf, and to me it's deliberate. For whatever reason, I call it out what the reason was, but the cameras weren't operable. When we got in with Matt's assistance and Jeremy's assistance, we went out, we got cameras up and running. I can give, we did, and we implemented security of the airport. So that's where the grant came in and reached out, was able to get that going. They have the motors installed for the fences. Now it's just the networking aspect of, pulling wires and everything else that's involved. But that's an active project. So in the future, it's going to be a loop, but it will have a camera, so we'll be able to see who, If someone comes in, we'll know because they'll have a transponder and we'll know exactly who came in. But if someone came out, we can get them on a camera as well.
So anybody and everybody don't have access to the cameras now?
No, it's IT right here. And you want to give a quick update, just real fast, on where we are with the cameras?
Sure. We're not 100%, but we've got a lot of them up and functioning. We have the new recorder out there. We've got plenty of capacity. We've tested it. We've pulled video just to make sure everything's running great. And we're adding probably 3 or 4 more just to cover. So we'll have entrance, both gates covered. The Bell Street side will be covered. The airport terminal side is going to be covered. It'll be in and out.
So Matt, do we have like a control room for the cameras? I'm asking. No.
There's a mechanical room, but
Mechanical, okay.
Yeah.
Which is our control room.
yeah. So the switches, all the networking gear, all of it's loaded in there.
And only the IT have access to it?
IT and Jeremy guys.
Okay.
As well.
Okay. Any other questions?
And we had 2 new additions. So one of us a firefighter. It goes by Jay Maranan, and he's we're happy to have him aboard. And DeAndrea Watson, who's here, she may be shy. Would you like to get up and say hello, DeAndrea? She's our new finance manager. She's basically filling in where Danielle was. She's an excellent addition. She comes from the South Florida area, and she came up here, and she did an excellent job in an interview. She blew us away, and we're confident. It's a good synergy amongst her fellow co-workers, so we're excited to have her and welcome aboard. Thank you. And she came tonight, even though she was. So I'm gonna just say this: she has, just to throw it out there, she has a Master of Business Administration, and in May she will be wrapping up her second Master of Science in Accounting.
Wow!
And so, I mean, her accolades are extensive. So she's going to bring all that knowledge to the city. So
awesome.
we're happy to have her. And
Happy to have you.
And that's it.
Nothing else for the city manager report?
Nothing else.
All right, public participation. We got a couple sign-ups here. We got Dolores Miranda.
Dolores Miranda, 4051 East Old Bobbin Range Road.
Yes, ma'am.
So the reason I'm here tonight is to talk about Jim Bernard's defensive statement regarding the recall petition. The grounds for recall are for violating city charter 2 times. Mr. Bernard said in his defensive statement, the grounds are, and I quote, false and can be fact-checked. So let's do some fact-checking. The first charter violation was investigating a city employee. That was Sean Holliday, who was also ultimately terminated. Here is Jim Bernard's claim on his defensive statement. I've never investigated a city employee. I stated that I followed up with the situation after the employee was already let go to see if there was any wrongdoing with the way it was handled. So here's some other facts. A complaint was made by Jane Benham to the city manager on August 5th, 2024 about Sean Holliday. On the same day, Mr. Barnard, you spoke to Pam Durrance about Sean Holliday. The same day, not after. On August 7th, the HR director took your statement, and it is included in the investigation report that led to Holliday's termination. This report. Let's see. 8/7/24, phone statement summary, Deputy Mayor Jim Bernard, and it's initialed by the HR director. Deputy Mayor Jim Bernard spoke to Pam Durrance on 8/5/24 regarding the situation. Pam explained in detail to him that Sean had made negative comments about Jane Benham about the mayor, one of the council members, during the meeting they had at the city of Bowling Green. Once again, this occurred at the beginning of the investigation, not after. Okay, the second charter violation was signing the Brickell Building deed without the council's approval. So, an excerpt from Jim's defensive statement. I signed the warranty deed after being requested to do so by the city manager. At the council meeting on 4/24/23, council approved resolution 2023-05. This vote fully confirmed council's knowledge of the sale. They approved. Okay, here's some facts. On the 23rd, Jim Bernard signed the deed without the council's approval. On the 24th, at 2:26 p.m., the deed was recorded and transferred to Daniel Sauls without the council's approval. After the fact, at the council meeting, same day on the 24th, the city attorney said the resolution was a formality because the sale had already been consummated. Mr. Bernard doesn't deny violating the charter, he just makes excuses for having done so. I'm sure some of the council members would have wanted to look at and discuss some things before the deed was recorded. Things like the contract, benchmarks that weren't met, the CO that was only for the fitness center. Deputy Mayor, the fact that you flat out lie about your actions and do not take ownership of your mistakes is exactly why your name is on a recall petition.
Okay, I'd like to respond if you don't mind.
I do not.
Oh, great. Well, you're probably right. I did talk to several people before Mr. Holliday left. I talked to the previous city manager, who was not happy with his workload, and I also talked to the interim city manager at the time, who was not happy with his workload, as well as I was the liaison to the CRA meetings, so I actually saw the type of work he had. But in no way, shape, or form did I ever give anybody an opinion or advice to that he should be terminated at all. So I did not do any investigation. And I was just looking out to make sure that something was done correctly, mainly because I didn't want an interim city manager to fire somebody if she didn't have to, and hope that she would wait till we elected a new one. So I guess you could say I correct that statement. I did talk to several people, as well as several members of the CRA board who made the same advisory board who made the same comments to me that they were not happy with his workload. But no way ever did I ever advise anybody or tell anybody that he needs to be terminated, fired, or anything else anyway. That's that question. The second question on the deed.
Hold on one second.
Oh, excuse me. Go right ahead.
I'm not saying that you said he should have been terminated. I am saying this report is saying you were part of the investigation. Nowhere did I find anything in here that you did a follow-up, which is what you're claiming in your defensive statement. I'm going by the documentation that was in a file. Is Ms. Crow? Yes. That the HR director and I think the city manager put together. Nowhere does it say you were following up. On the same day that Jane Benham called in a complaint, you called Pam Durrance. That's not after the fact, sir. That's on the front end of an investigation. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. As far as signing the deed, 4 members of the city council, they approved the sale of the Brickell building. I think all 4 members here, except for the mayor, I believe, abstained. So they all approved the sale of the Brickell building. The city manager asked me to come in, I told you this before, to sign the deed, just like I've asked by every city manager to come in and sign things that you expect their professional people, their staff to go through everything, that when they ask you to sign something, you depend on their experience, like signing the checks on a regular basis. If the city manager tells you this is okay to sign, my job is basically believe what he's telling me it's okay to sign, so I sign it probably because the mayor was abstained. So if the city council approves the sale of the building, then why would there be a problem with somebody looking at the deed? But Maybe you're smarter than I am, but that's my answer.
I know this, sir. You owed this city due diligence, and they got none of it. You should have
Well, right now, the
looked
Brooklyn
at the
building's doing pretty
benchmarks.
good, I think.
You should have followed the city charter. This council should have had the opportunity to look at the contract, look at the benchmarks, look at the CO.
Why didn't they bring that up a couple years ago?
Good question.
Your time's been expended.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next sign up, Ms. Sutherland.
Maria Sutherland, 900 West Main. I don't have a lot of paperwork. I just have a question in regards to actually the election recall. And this question goes to Ms. McGuire. During the recall petition signings and things out in the public, a question comes up again and again regarding your statement. And if Mr. Bernard was kind enough to render an answer, it would be nice if you could give one to the public as well. But at one point you said that the same claims that have been sent to the numerous agencies, none of which have resulted in a finding or conclusion of any wrongdoing. I just want to point out that the Gilchrist did have a lot of conclusions, but you didn't reference that in your defensive statement. But aside from that, you made the claim that you had no role in decisions and no knowledge of the developer's contractor selections at that time. And my question is, at what time? A nanosecond after you voted? 6 months later, 6 weeks later, a year later? When did you have at that time a response or a knowledge of all of the issues going on with the Brickell building?
Yeah, the only thing is the Gilchrist law firm is not an agency, just to clarify. So
They acted as an agency, but disregarding them as a valid opinion really discounts all the time spent that you all approved for them to follow through with. But that's not the question. My question is, at what time were you aware that there were issues with the Brickell building if you're saying that at the time you didn't know when the procurement was done? Was it after the meeting, that night, the next day, a week later, a year later, 9 months later? I mean, your own father has stated that your husband was full-time employee of Promise Technologies. So are you saying that you didn't know that he was going to be working on this project? Or that when your mother visited with your kids, you didn't know? So at what time did you know? And were you compelled to give that information to the public? It was your duty to let the public know, and you did not do that.
none of what you just said was accurate whatsoever. That's all I'll say about it.
I'm not asking about my accuracy. I'm asking you a question. At what time did you know?
I won't answer unless the question's accurate, and nothing that you're saying is accurate.
Well,
I'll leave
then,
it at that.
then your comment, your defensive statement makes no sense. If you're saying that you had no role in the decisions and no knowledge of the developer's contractor selections at the time, what is the time? You're the one that stated that, not me.
My defensive statement is as it was written, and that's what I'll stand
So you
by.
don't have a specific time to reference when you say at the time.
Read the defensive statement.
That's it. You're
Then
redundant
that's
in
it.
your answer. So you don't have an answer. Or you're avoiding it. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our signups. Is there any other public participation? Any hands? Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.
Thank you.